right now. Welcome back, everyone. Sorry we got cut off. We have 40-minute intervals. Sorry about that. So we left off with Sister Sally reading Nehemiah chapter 8, verses 1 to 8. I have one little extra cross-reference my sister Shoshana brought up that's pretty imperative to this study. And I think I'm going to start off actually by reading verse 14 even. In Yahushua chapter 24, it says, "And now fear Yahuwah." I'm reading from the English translation, the Septuagint here.
And this is the book of Yahusha.
Yep.
Chapter 24.
Chapter 24. So it says, "And now fear Yahuwah and serve him in righteousness and right ruling, and remove the strange mighty ones, the strange deities, which our fathers served beyond the river." Now, who is he referring to? Our fathers served? Most likely the original Israelites that, in the wilderness where they fell astray from Yahuwah. The golden calf could be an instance he could be referring to. Terah's technically old descendant of the Israelites. He is the dad of Abraham, the human dad. So he served strange mighty ones. So that's probably what verse 14, in my opinion, is referring to. Their physical descendants that basically did not serve Yahuwah with their whole heart. It says, "Beyond the river and in Egypt, and served Yahuwah." So it's basically saying we need to learn from our forefathers' mistakes. We need to serve Yahuwah, not these strange mighty ones. "But if it seem not to you to serve Yahuwah, choose to yourselves this day whom you will serve, whether the strange deities of your fathers that were on the other side of the river, or the mighty ones of the Amorites, among whom you dwell upon their land. But I and my house will serve Yahuwah, for he is set apart."
I and my house will serve Yahuwah. Love that.
So this is making a distinction between the Almighty and these lowercase, as you see here, J-O-D-S. So you have these lesser deities that their fathers served, the Egyptians served, the Amorites served. But the Amorites are actually a descendant of giants. That's a whole other topic, but you can find that in Amos 2:9. They're completely Nephilim offspring. They were serving most likely their physical fathers as mighty ones, probably the giants. And anyway, but this is a great cross-reference here from Sister Shoshana. This talks about we have to make a decision. It's Yahuwah or these demons, these fallen angels that their forefathers were deceived into serving. The wood and stone that basically was mediums for the false.
And Doug, these foreign mighty ones are on the scene right now. They're coming back.
Mm-hmm.
That CERN thing with that Shiva god of destruction.
Mm-hmm.
And they had one that they had like a museum piece they passed along all across the United States a couple of years ago, and that was Anubis, which was quite an evil creature.
Basically he's the Egyptian version of Hades, basically.
Yeah.
He's the god of the dead. That's basically what he is. So it's kind of funny, Yahushua makes a reference in the New Testament. Yahuwah is the Elohim of the living, not the dead. I wonder if he was kind of taking a little stab there at these false deities. He's trying to say, the true Elohim is the Elohim of the living, not the dead. So that's just a little theory I have there, why Yahushua made an example of that, because you would think the Pharisees would know that from the scriptures, and he's like making just a blatant statement, like the Father is the Elohim of the living, not the dead. So
yeah.
So anyway, but let's continue here. Sister Sally, if you can, please read Nehemiah chapter 9, verses 2 to 3. This will continue in the reading of the book of the law here.
I'm going to go ahead and start with verse 1 if that's okay.
Yeah, no problem. Let me just get it on here for the viewers real quick. See here, Nehemiah. Why? Man, my eyes are just bad. That's what it is. That's really what it is.
Too young, Dougie. Bad eyes.
I've had glasses since I was like in elementary school, so never had that great eyes. Okay, so verse 1. Go ahead, Sister Sally.
Sure. This is about the spiritual preparation of Yasarel. Now on the 24th day of this month, the children of Yasarel were assembled with fasting, in sackcloth, and with dust on their heads. Then those of Israelite lineage separated themselves from all foreigners, and they stood and confessed their sins and the iniquities of their fathers. And they stood up in their place and read from the book of the law of Yahuwah, their Elohim, for 1/4 of the day. And for another 1/4 of the day they confessed and worshipped Yahuwah, their Elohim. Did you want me to keep going, or?
Nope, that's pretty much it.
Pretty much says it.
That pretty much says it. And as you can see, the iniquities of their fathers, and it's, let's see here, there is one, I believe in context, is if you read on in the chapter, this is about them having taken foreign wives, and they eventually actually, as harsh as it may sound here, they're not supposed to be taking these women from these tribes as wives, and they did so, and now they got to put away these wives with the children. Now that's pretty harsh, but hey, they weren't supposed to do it in the first place. So that they made the covenant to Yahuwah. Notice Yahuwah's not telling them to do this, to put away the children. So this is more of pretty much them repenting and lamenting and realizing, oh man, the book of the law says for us not to take these type of women that descend from Canaan as wives. We're not supposed to do this. And you can find this in Deuteronomy 7:8, chapter 7, verse 3. He says it right here. It says, neither shall you contract marriages with them. You shall not give your daughter to his son. You shall not take his daughter to your son. Meaning that can't intermarry with these tribes. There's something about these tribes, and I would assume that these are giant tribes. That's why. And unfortunately, it seems harsh that they got to put away the children, but the children are now mixed breeded and possibly would not be allowed in the assembly of Yahuwah. Now, I'm kind of assuming that we don't really get that literally in Nehemiah 9, but to me it would make sense. That's the reason, and they have to put away the wives and put away the children, and that's why they're putting on sackcloth, ashes, and they're lamenting and basically repenting and fasting to Yahuwah because they realized what they did was wrong, and they're reading from the book of the law. They're keeping the law, the whole law. It doesn't say the 2 tablets of stone only. So it says the book of the law of Yahuwah their Elohim, and they confess their sins. So I just wanted to add that to give some context, because I believe this is the chapter that talks about they put away those wives. Yeah, let me see here. Verse 8 gives you some context. And you found his heart faithful before you and did make a covenant with him to give to him and his seed. Okay, it talks about the land of the Amorites and all that. Let me see here if there's, I just wanted to see real quick if there is proof of that in this chapter that it talks about not taking the women and stuff like that. Okay. Maybe not. All right, so I thought it was that chapter. I know somewhere in Nehemiah or in Ezra it talks about that. So I might have just got confused there. Sorry about that, audience. But anyway, I guess I'll continue our study here in Numbers chapter 15, verse. Oh, my bad, Sister Sally. I forgot that you had one last cross reference. Chapter 13, verse 1. If you could possibly read that.
Sure.
Yeah.
On that day they read from the book of Moshe in the hearing of the people, And in it was found written that no Ammonite or Moabite should ever come into the congregation of Elohim Yahuwah, because they had not met the children of Yasharel with bread and water, but hired Balaam against them to curse them. However, our Elohim Yahuwah turned the curse into a barakah, or a blessing. You want me to keep going?
I think that's pretty tube right there. That gives some context there. So pretty much they cursed Yashrael, these other actually brothers of them. Ammonites and Moabites come from Lot, if no one knew that. So they are not giants. I want to make that clear.
No, they come from incest.
They come from incest, and they're what we would know in modern day as bastards. In a way, they are illegitimate children in a way, because they're being inbreded. They're not supposed to. It's against
Father-daughter.
Yeah, it's father-daughter incest, which actually it's even worse, because actually Lot was technically raped. He got drunk and he didn't know what was happening. His two daughters. Well, according to the way they write it, the way it's translated, it's kind of like he's like passed out practically.
Yeah, but no.
So anyway, but that's the context of why Yahuwah would say they can't enter into the assembly forever. Plus the fact they cursed the children of Yashrael, so added on top of that. So that means that, and you can find that in the book of Genesis, chapter 12, I believe. He says to Abraham, "Those that curse you shall be cursed." So they cursed Abraham's seed, and so now they're cursed. They can't enter into Yahuwah's assembly, basically. The Ammonites and the Moabites. So that's Nehemiah chapter 13, Sister Sally just read from 1 to 2 or 1 to 3, verses 1 to 2. So, and here we go. I'll continue our study here. Thank you, Sister Sally, and I will go to Numbers chapter 15, verse 29. Okay, and here we go. You shall have one law for him that sins through ignorance, both for him that is born among the children of Yashrael, and for the stranger that sojourns among them, meaning Gentiles and natural-born Israelites, Yashraelites, are to keep one law. The book of the law is for the stranger, the sojourner, and the one that is born of that land, basically the descendants of that land. So that was Numbers chapter 15, verse 29. And it says one law. So the 10 Commandments plus the rest of the Torah is one Torah, one law. That's why I wanted to include that in this study. Show that there's no distinction between the 10 Commandments and the rest of the law. They're not separated. And Sister Shoshana, if you could please read Matthew 22, verse 40.
Okay, already on it?
Yeah.
I'm going to start with verse 35 because I have it highlighted from a previous study. And one of them, one learned in the Torah, questioned, trying him and saying, "Teacher, which is the great command in the Torah?" And Yahusha said to him, "You shall love Yahuwah with your Elohim, with all your heart, with all your being, and with all your mind. This is the first and great command. And the second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments hang all the Torah and the Nevi'im, the prophets."
Meaning, basically, the whole law, the whole Torah depends on these two commandments. Christianity will take this a whole nother way and say, as long as you're keeping these two commandments isolated by themselves, you're keeping the rest of the law. That's how they'll interpret it.
No.
which makes no logical sense, because if you go back to what Shoshana just read here, the first one is the great commandment. It says, you shall love Yahuwah your Elohim with all your heart, with all your spirit, your being, and your mind, your strength. For you to do that, you have to keep the whole law. You can't just say, oh, I'm going to love him in my own definition of love, and I'm just going to love him emotionally and this or that, or however Christianity wants to spin that commandment.
What does the Apostle John say the definition of love is? Keeping the commandments.
Here it says, overcoming the world, from 1 John 5, whosoever believes that Yahushua the Messiah is born of Yahuwah, and everyone that loves him that begat loves him also that is begotten of him. Meaning, if you love the Father, you also love the Son by connection. By this we know that we love the children of Yahuwah, when we love Yahuwah and keep his commandments. For this is the love of Yahuwah, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not. I actually like the way the ESV puts this verse, because grievous is kind of like an older term. I like how the ESV says burdensome. This is the love of Yahuwah, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not burdensome.
Oh, they sure aren't. In fact, they are very much looked forward to.
Yep.
For me, at least.
Yes, they're Baraka.
So let's see here. I want to see where we left off here on this document. So, Sister Sally, if you could please read your next cross-reference here, 2 Kings chapter 14, verse 6.
Sure, just one moment while I turn there.
No problem. Yeah, I'll give you some time, and let me actually open it to myself here.
2 Kings 14:6.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, I've been keeping these, and Sally has too. She's been keeping them longer than any of us. She was, I think, 19 when she came into the truth and started keeping Torah.
Well, I wasn't baptized until I was 20.
Okay, she was 20. I was like 35, so she's got me by 15 years. But we have been keeping them, I guess, you're close to 40 years, if not more. 50 years? And
I don't want to say right now.
I've been keeping them about 35 years.
Many years. Many years, yes.
Yeah, 35 years is a long time. Just thought I'd fill in that gap for you, Doug, if you're not ready.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm just waiting for Sally. As soon as she's ready, we'll read 2 Kings 14:6. As soon as she's there. I already have it up on my eastward here. So in the context, this is the commandment about children don't get killed for the sins of the dad. Pretty much basically it means that your parents would be killed according to the Torah for their own sin, and you would be put to death for your own sin. Like, this is the law of like stoning and capital punishment, basically, context. This is what it's talking about. And you can't find this in the 2 tablets of stones, just for those people that are under that doctrine of only the 2 tablets is valid for the Father's law. You will not find this on the 2 tablets of stone. So are you gonna start saying you should be killed for your parents' sins? I mean, so I don't know. It's a dangerous thought process to go interpreting stuff like that. Only taking the 2 tablets of stone. So
yeah, of course, it's good if you're keeping those. It's very good.
Yeah.
Every one of them, it has a good reason for keeping. But when you get into the rest of the book, you find out, well, this will expand this one, and this will expand that one, and before long you're keeping everything that it says. Now, granted, we can't keep what the Levites were to keep, or women can't keep what men were required to keep, and vice versa. So, you know, you have to go by who you are and what your calling is, male or female, or
Yeah.
Levite, not Levite. But in today's world, we have a suspension of the Levitical priesthood. But they will come back, according to Ezekiel 44, in the millennium, which we know is soon to come. Okay,
Yeah.
so I've said enough. Go ahead.
Go ahead,
Okay.
Sally. You ready? All right.
2 Kings chapter 14, verse 6. But the children of the murderers he did not execute, according to what is written in the book of the law of Moshe, in which Yahuwah commanded, saying, the fathers shall not be put to death for the children, nor shall the children be put to death for the fathers, but a person shall be put to death for his own sin.
Yep, that's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be put to death for the sins of my dad or my grandfather. My grandfather was alcoholic, my goodness. My mother was an alcoholic. I wouldn't want to be put to death for that. Anyway, we've got another one for Sally. Galatians 3:10.
Yep. Galatians chapter 3, verse 10. Yep.
Okay, I'll be right on this.
Okay. And just let me know, everyone, if my shared screen keeps messing up. I'll just redo it right now anyway, just to make sure, because I know it's going to eventually start pausing out of nowhere. All right, so let me see here. So we got Galatians 3:10.
Yes.
There's a reason why all of these scriptures are given. So go ahead, Sally.
Yep.
For as many as are of the work of the law are under the curse. For it is written, cursed is everyone who does not continue in all things which are written in the book of the law to do them.
Okay.
I can go on a little bit further if you'd like me to.
Yeah, go ahead if you feel led to.
But that no one is justified by the law in the sight of Yahuwah is evident, for the just shall live by faith. Yet the law is not of faith, but, quote, the man who does them shall live by them. And that quote, okay. Is that far enough then?
Actually, read the next verse. I would like to get the context here. This is where the context is coming from. So any Christians that are listening in, they can kind of get why we're reading this. Read verse 13.
For Yahusha has redeemed us from the curse of the law, having become a curse for us. For it is written, cursed is everyone who hangs on a tree, that the blessing, the Baraka of Abraham might come upon the Gentiles in Yahushua Messiah, that we might receive the promise of the Spirit through faith.
Very good.
Yep, I just wanted to get that context there. So he removed the curse of the law, not the law itself. So just for any dispensationalists that might have came by this video. So basically, he took the sin, the penalty, the bill of our debts mentioned by Paul also in Colossians chapter 2, verse 9 of the Aramaic New Testament here. So just kind of give you a second witness of this here. Or let me make sure that's right. Colossians, actually it might be 2:14. Yeah, 2:14, my bad. It's in the Aramaic, it reads as, and he has blotted out by his authority, meaning Yahushua's own authority, the bill of our debts, the curse, which was adverse to us, and took it from the midst and nailed it to his stake or his tree. So this is the context of Galatians chapter 3. what Sally just read. This is the actual context. So just wanted to give that. That's Colossians 2:14 of the Aramaic New Testament in plain English. So let's see here. I think I will be continuing the study now. Thank you, Sister Sally, for reading Galatians 3:10 to 13. I'll be reading Deuteronomy chapter 27, verse 26 here. And let's see here. We got a lot from Deuteronomy in this study. Let's see here. I'll go back to the Brenton's English Septuagint here. And here we go. Cursed is every man that continues not in all the words of this law to do them. So this is where Paul's getting it in Galatians 3. He's taking it straight from the Torah. He's not making some new crazy Christian doctrine that was never stated in the Old Testament. Yeah, he's pulling straight from the Torah. 3. Cursed is every man that continues not in all the words of this law to do them. And all the people shall say, so be it. So everyone out there that wants to say, Galatians, you foolish Galatians, who has bewitched you, and all these crazy misinterpretations of Paul's letters, okay, if that's the case, it's talking about someone being bewitched. Paul is talking about the Galatians going back into their old pagan ways. And he's talking about being cursed under the law of sin and death. That is what he's talking about. So in context, that's why he's quoting Deuteronomy 27:26, because if we stop continuing in the Torah, we will come under that curse again that we were redeemed from Messiah Yahushua. He redeemed us from the curse of the law. And if we don't continue in it, we're going to go back to being cursed, even though he redeemed us from the curse. He took away the curse. So that's the context there in Deuteronomy 27:26. And I'll continue here in chapter 29, verse 20. And let's see here. So Deuteronomy chapter 29, verse 20. And Yahuwah shall by no means, and again, this is probably like a reiteration. I must have typed this twice on the document. Yahuwah shall by no means be willing to pardon him, but then the wrath of Yahuwah and his jealousy shall flame out against that man, and all the curses of this covenant shall attach themselves to him, which are written in this book. And Yahuwah shall blot out his name from under heaven. So I think I read this by mistake before, so this is kind of like a review here. So his name will be blotted out of the book of life, and Yahuwah will not pardon his sin. He will not forgive him. So that's something to be very careful of. All right, so we got less than 10 minutes here. Okay, I'm going to see.
Okay, I'll read mine quickly.
Yeah.
1 Corinthians 15, verses 20 and 21. But now Mashiach has been raised from the dead and has become the first fruit of those having fallen asleep. For since death is through a man, resurrection of the dead is also through a man. For as all die in Adam, so also all shall be made alive in Mashiach. Or should I say HaMashiach? Yahushua. And then I'll read the next one. What's my next one? Matthew. Got it.
5:17.
Oh, yes. Do not think that I came to destroy the Torah or the prophets. I did not come to destroy, but to fully proclaim it. For truly, I say to you, until the Shemayim, that's the heavens, and the earth pass away, one yod or one tittle shall by no means pass from the Torah till all be fulfilled. Whoever then breaks one of the least of these commandments and teaches men so shall be called least in the reign of the Shemayim. But whoever does and teaches them, he shall be called great in the reign of the Shemayim. For I say to you that unless your righteousness exceeds that of the Pharisees and scribes, You shall by no means enter into the reign of the heavens. You heard that it was said to those of old, you shall not murder, and whoever murders shall be liable to judgment. But I say to you that whoever is wroth with his brother, angry with his brother, without a cause, shall be liable to judgment. And I believe the King James says there, damnation.
Yeah.
Be
Let's
very careful.
danger of the judgment. Yeah, this probably should be damnation here. Let me see here. Yeah, it seems like a lot of them want to say judgment here. Yeah, in context, it should be damnation because it starts talking about Gehenna towards the end of the verse. So, yeah, in context, this is talking about damnation. And let's see. Depending on the translation, it will say you fool. It should actually say empty head or idiot if you look at the original Greek. Say whoever says to his brother empty head or idiot will be liable to the council, but whoever says empty head is the first word, and then whoever says idiot will be liable to fiery Gehenna. So that's the context. It's talking about basically sinning, getting angry at your brother for no reason, calling him an idiot or empty head or stupid, and that you'll be liable to the damnation, basically.
Let me say this. How many times have any of you been stuck in traffic and you're going, you idiot? There you go. Everybody's done that. That's why I bring that up. We're all guilty. But what we have to do is take that thing that we've said that we know we should not have said to Yahuwah and ask him to forgive it in the name of our Savior, Yahushua HaMashiach.
Yep.
Faithful and just to do just that.
Yeah. Definitely.
We've done it before. Sometimes we have a slip of the tongue and it happens again.
Oh yeah, I've done it all the time. I used to do it when I would play video games and stuff. even though it's AI, it's still, just the thought of calling someone an idiot is not right. So
Yeah.
I even though they're not real people, I don't think that really constitutes as breaking that. But it's just the thought of calling a person an idiot is not right at all. So.
Well, if you're playing against somebody, then you're calling a person, but
yeah,
that's another story.
Yeah.
How much time do we have?
We have just enough time to probably have Sally read 2 Corinthians 6:18, and then we're going to have to do a part 3.
Okay. Is Sally ready?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
Well, mine reads different than what you just put up, Doug. The law of unclean is found in the law of Moshe, aka Yahuwah's law. It was not found in the Ten Commandments.
That's the commentary.
Yes.
That's the commentary there. The actual verse I wanted you to read was 2 Corinthians 6:18 right here.
I have it
right. Isaiah 52:11.
And Isaiah 52:11 is where he quotes from.
Okay, verse 16 in chapter 6. And what agreement has the temple of Elohim with idols? For you are the temple of the living Elohim Yahuwah, as Yahuwah has said, I will dwell in them and walk among them. I will be their Elohim. And they shall be my people. Therefore, come out from among them and be separate, says Yahuwah. Do not touch what is unclean, and I will receive you. I will be a father to you, and you shall be my sons and daughters, says Yahuwah Almighty.
Yeah.
And this is what Isaiah
52:11 says.
Yeah. Here we go.
So we need to ask ourselves, are we really separate? Are we really keeping ourselves separate?
Yep, and what's interesting here is in Isaiah 52:11, where Paul's quoting from here, it says that bears the vessels of Yahuwah. This is a metaphoric allegory type of phrase here. So obviously he's not talking about vessels from the temple or a glass that you put water in. He's talking about our bodies are the vessels of the Father. So he's giving you an allegory here in Jeremiah. In Isaiah,
turn aside, come out from there, touch not the unclean, come out of her midst, be clean. You who bear the vessels of Yahuwah. We are Yahuwah's vessels. For you shall not come out in haste, nor go in flight, for Yahuwah is going before you, and Yahuwah is your rear guard. I just thought I would add that.
Yeah. All right, I think that's just enough. We'll be starting the last part shortly. All of our viewers and listeners, hopefully you've enjoyed this study so far, and hopefully you've gotten something out of it. And just a little commentary before we come on for the part 3. The law of unclean is found in the law of Masha, aka Yahuwah's law. It was not found in the tablets of stone that had the top 10. So if you would have to completely, literally ignore this verse to only keep the 10 commandments, just as another proof that it's not just the top 10. And just for clarity, the top 10 is they're the most important commandments, but they're not the only commandments. That's the whole point of this study we're doing, to show
and the
that.
top 10 includes his 7th-day Sabbath.
Yep.
Just FYI.
Yep. It includes his Sabbath, honoring your dad and your mom, not coveting, not making graven images, do not bow down to worship any images, do not make anything in the heaven above, earth beneath, and under the earth, like in a Sheol. Do not make any images of those things to bow down and worship them in context, those commandments. There's also
not murder, do not steal.
Yep, do not murder, do not
bear false witness.
Adultery. I mean, all those are in the top 10. So hopefully you enjoyed this study, and please stay tuned to the part 3. To all our brothers and sisters in Yahusha, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Let's see here. Stop.